Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of the Standpoint podcast. With me always is my co-host, Jordan Bohannon. Jordan, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, brother.
Good. For those who don't know, which I mean is probably most of the world, Jordan actually sustained a concussion yesterday. So if he says anything stupid, then at least we have something to blame it on this time. So that's the good news with that. So how's your head feeling, Jordan?
Feeling a little dizzy, but I gotta do everything we can to be able to interview the man, the
Good.
myth, legend, CJ.
Oh, man.
Good.
Yeah.
So before we get into today's episode, we want to say thank you for everyone for subscribing and listening and downloading our podcast. Make sure to keep subscribing to us, giving us reviews, rating us 5 stars, and then interacting with us on Twitter and Instagram. We also, as you may have seen, just got a YouTube channel. So all of our podcast interviews moving forward, including this one, will be there. So you can find that link on our pod page's website, which should be linked in our bio for Twitter. But now that we kind of got all the housekeeping out of the way, today we have a very special guest. He led Iowa to a 12-0 season in 2015, was selected by the San Francisco 49ers in the third round of the 2017 draft. He's without a doubt one of the most polarizing athletes in Iowa history. I introduce to you Sunshine, aka CJ Beathard. CJ, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you on. I remember a couple weeks ago, Jordan texted me. He's like, "Hey, I think we're going to get CJ on, and we're really excited about it." And I kind of felt like a football player girlfriend on Sunday night because I'm watching the game and I see number 3 go on there. I text Jordan, I'm like, Jordan, is that CJ? He's like, yeah. And I remember we're just texting back and forth, just like fangirling you, being like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to talk about this. So it was perfect timing for you, man. So we appreciate that, and we're really excited to get into it today.
Yeah.
My first question is, so CJ, this is your 4th year, which is kind of crazy to think about considering I feel like you were just playing at Iowa the other day. What have you learned from year 1 to now? You're not a rookie anymore. So what kind of lessons have you learned?
I mean, there's so many. I mean, it's honestly when I sit there and tell myself that I'm in my 4th season, it's honestly kind of shocking. It doesn't sound real. I feel like I just got in the league. I feel like I'm a rookie. Just got there, and when people call me a vet, it just sounds really weird coming off people's mouths. But that's the truth of it. It's my 4th year in the NFL, and it's been an awesome 4 years. It's been a lot of ups and downs. I think I got to have a lot of playing time. Early on in my career, my rookie year, and then played a little bit my 2nd year, and then really almost 2 years to the day, I hadn't had a meaningful snap in a game until Sunday night. So it's just kind of crazy. You just never know when your next snap will be. Sometimes it'll be 2 weeks later, sometimes 2 years later, and that's kind of the thing. You just got to always be ready. You just never know when you're going to get a chance to go in there again.
How crazy has it been? And think about it, 4 years now in the NFL. You're looking back in your college days and how much fun I'm sure you had back then, and the teams you guys played on, and that you were able to lead to unbelievable career. I think you started 28 games. You had a record of 21-7. I mean, that just shows how great of a leader you were to be able to have that kind of record and going forward as a quarterback at Iowa. So how has been that transition from being at Iowa to being with the San Francisco 49ers and being on the same team as one of your best friends, George Kittle? George Kittle.
Yeah, I mean, it was a smooth transition. I think the way the Iowa football programs run, they really prepare you for a lot of the stuff that you have to go through in the NFL. And in a lot of ways, it's a lot tougher at Iowa, just with schoolwork and everything else going on. Coach Ferentz runs a tight ship at Iowa and gets the best out of his players. And I can't thank him enough for what he taught me at Iowa and put us through and prepared me for the next level. Once you get in the NFL, it's kind of crazy. Going there rookie year, you're playing along guys. I remember Navarro Bowman was an old vet at the time when I got there as a rookie. I mean, and then now I'm teammates with Richard Sherman, guys that you look up to growing up. You wore their jerseys in the backyard, and it's just kind of crazy and surreal playing with a lot of these legendary guys like that.
You mentioned, Jordan, that you got drafted with one of your good friends, George Kittle. So I think, if I believe I did the math right, that you guys have played together for your 8th year in a row. So it's kind of crazy. People don't even do that in childhood with guys. So how has that been playing with him for that long? And how was that night when you got drafted? Obviously, you got drafted in the 3rd round. He got drafted in the 5th round. And, how was the text exchanges in that night? And like, what was said?
I mean, it's been awesome being with George for 8 years. It's something that I don't really know many guys, even in the league that are teammates for that long consecutive years, going from freshman year of college to now our 4th year in the NFL. It's been an awesome time. We lived together at Iowa, and we got real close there and became real good friends. And then that day, I remember we were drafted the same day. I got picked, and then he got picked shortly after. It was really awesome. It was just kind of like, wow, that's crazy. We're literally about to be going into college at the same class, and then drafted in the same class to the same team. It's something that obviously it doesn't happen very often, and it was really cool, especially being George, someone that's one of my good friends.
Has George changed at all since college, being with him, and like any funny stories that you have that kind of
Uh,
reminds you of him being in college with him?
Sure. I mean, George is still the same George. George is just outgoing, funny, goofy guy. He's always been that way. The only thing that has changed with him is his style of clothing. His clothes have got a little bit pricier, but other than that, he's the same person. George is an awesome dude. He treats everyone the same way. It doesn't matter um, if you're the top dog on the team or you're on the practice squad or whatever. He treats everyone the same, and he's just a really genuine guy with a big heart.
Yeah. So, talking about being a rookie, you got a lot of playing time that year. And what would you say would be your welcome to the NFL moment, whether it's in practice or just even during a game? What was that moment for you?
Uh, Shoot, I mean, yeah, I would just have to say that first time I got in a game was we were playing the Redskins and in Washington, and it was the second quarter. We started out 0-6 as a team. The quarterback at the time was Brian Hoyer, and our quarterback coach came to the sidelines and said, "Hey, are you ready to go in?" And I was like, "Shoot, as a rookie, it's kind of like your heart starts beating a little bit." Um, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm ready." And he's like, "If you're going to go in this next drive," and I was like, "Okay." So I went in, and I mean, it was just crazy. It's a lot faster. The game's a lot faster, but I mean, it was fun. It's fun being out there, fun playing the game of football. And I remember to this day, that first game that I ever played in, against the Redskins, my jaw is still messed up from a hit I took. It was like my first or second series. I was like getting the ball rid of it, and this dude hit me right in my jaw. My jaw still clicks. It's probably one of the worst hits I've ever taken, just like physically wise. It's like obviously if it still bothers me, it's something that I remember for sure.
It's funny you bring that up because my dad playing at Iowa, a quarterback, and just asking him a bunch of stories of him if he ever had a bad hit and what was that like, and kind of just that first wake up call being the Big Ten. And I remember him saying that he got hit so bad he went to the sideline, the Minnesota team sideline, and stayed there for like a couple minutes and didn't even realize he was on the wrong sideline. So that's kind of funny you bring that up because it's just so similar on how kind of a wake up call is of just getting to the next level and stuff like that. But
It's funny, that was probably before concussions were a thing. You probably had to go right back in the game.
Yeah. No protocol.
that's what he
Yeah.
says. Like, got right back in the game, nothing to it.
And you go out there on the basketball court and got a little headache, and they say you got a concussion.
Well, we're not as tough as you, CJ. Come on now.
No.
All right. So Jordan talked about, you were part of some pretty historic moments with Iowa, part of that 2015 team that went 12-0. In your opinion, do you think that that was the best team in Iowa history?
Shoot. I mean, that's tough to say. There was a lot of really good teams that went through Iowa. I mean, honestly, I don't even really want to say. I mean,
You don't have to be size, CJ. It's okay. We're friends
I
here.
definitely think we were up there. I don't think it hadn't been done in Iowa history, but there was a lot of really good teams that went through Iowa that accomplished a lot of good things. I mean, unfortunately for us, we didn't get to we didn't win the Big Ten championship or a bowl game. Heck, I would have taken those wins over a 12-0 record for sure. So, I mean, it's tough to answer that question, but I think we had a really good team with a lot of good talent, a lot of good players that obviously you see around the league right now, and it was awesome being a part of that team with those guys.
So you've grown up in a really football-based family. Looking at your dad or looking at your whole family as a whole, um, how has that shaped you in becoming the player that you are today? Because think about my aspect of my older brothers playing basketball, and I was surrounded by basketball just ever since I was growing up. So I'm sure that's kind of the same with you when you were growing up as a kid. Just playing with your brothers and just trying to find that one sport that you love to play. So how much did they impact you on kind of following your path to being a professional football player?
Yeah, I mean that was huge. Just really started with my grandpa. My grandpa was a GM in the NFL for a lot of teams. He's been to 7 Super Bowls and he's got 4 Super Bowl rings. So I just kind of grew up around it at a young age. I remember going to San Diego Chargers camps, being around guys like Junior Seau, Rodney Harrison. Those are my 2 favorite players growing up were those 2, and just being around the practices and being around those guys. And then I remember after the Chargers, he went to the Falcons for a few years, and I remember being around like Mike Vick. Mike Vick ended up being my favorite player back then, and just going to camp and with my brothers and then it was one of those things that just it was in my family, it was in my blood. And my dad played college football, both of my uncles did, and all 3 of us brothers, us boys did growing up. And it was something that we were always playing in the yard. Like we'd go to restaurants, and when we got done eating, we'd go out and find any grassy area we could, and we'd always bring a football everywhere, and we just like we just whoever had the ball, we just tack on, and it was fun.
Talking about those Iowa days, kind of turning back the time, what team would you say was the team that you hated most and that you enjoyed playing and winning, and why is it Iowa State?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say definitely Iowa State. Just it's funny when I got to Iowa, me being from Tennessee, I didn't really understand the rivalry. Everything is SEC football down there, and no one really respects the Big Ten down there. So when I got to Iowa, I just saw everywhere this Iowa State rivalry, this hatred, and it was something that I got accustomed to real quickly. How much we hated Iowa State, and how big of a rivalry that was, and how big of a game that was. It was always such a fun game. I honestly like playing at Iowa State more than I did playing at home, just because it was fun to go there and beat them at their home field. And I mean, I look back to, I think, that 2015 season. That game at Iowa State was to this day one of my favorite games that I got to play in. Was when we beat them there. It was a tight game going down in the 4th quarter, and then we hit a touchdown to Riley McCarron, and then Jordan Canzeri ran one in shortly after that. But that was just such an awesome game and an awesome feeling. And then the year after, my senior year, we beat them like 42-3 or something. It wasn't even a game, but yeah, it was awesome.
Let's talk about playing at Kinnick and the atmosphere there, and just being an Iowa athlete. Just because of there's no professional teams in Iowa, and when you got here, I'm sure you started to realize that your first year how much this fan base really prides themselves in the college sports teams. And describe that atmosphere at Kinnick and what it was like playing under the lights, what it was like to go into practice every day and realizing the rich history that Iowa football is all about.
I mean, there's honestly nothing like it. Not only just the stadium itself, just how historic and old it is. It's got so much history in that. And you look back at all these highlights from the teams in the 80s, and it's the same stadium as Kinnick Stadium. And the player and guy who now Kinnick has so much history behind that in and of itself. But just the fans are incredible there. It didn't matter who we were playing. It was always sold out. And they were just incredible. Like I said, being from the South and SEC, all you hear is SEC football, and how crazy the fans are there. I'll tell you right now, no one tops the Iowa football fans and a game in Kinnick Stadium, especially at night. Even even in the NFL, every time Iowa's got a night game, it's always, if you're playing at night at Iowa, it's usually a big game, whether it's Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. It's usually a big game, and guys around the league, just players in the NFL, will always say, man, it's guys that went to Alabama, guys that all around will be, man, that's a tough place to play, because there's so many upsets. It doesn't matter if it's a 4-4 Iowa team playing a 8-0 Ohio State team. It's a tough place to come out of there with a win, especially at night. And everybody knows that. So
When you first came to Iowa, I know that you redshirted, but then your first big chance was you replaced Jake Rudock on a game, and from there you never really looked back. But kind of comparing that to how it is now with waiting behind Brian Hoyer and then getting that opportunity, and then last Sunday waiting behind Nick Mullins and then getting that opportunity again. How do you stay prepared for those opportunities? Because it kind of seems like it's Groundhog Day with that, and it just shows how your preparation has really helped you. So what's been a part of that?
yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that I was accustomed to at Iowa. Just not only redshirting, but then the next 2 years, I basically sat behind Rudock for 2 years, and as frustrating as it was at times, it taught me a lot. Not only to be patient, but to take advantage of the opportunity, the place that I was in, of being the backup, to take everything in, learn more, and just try and work at my craft, get better at everything that I'm doing, because I knew that my time was going to come at some point. And it just so happened to be that it was my third year, my redshirt junior year was my first year starting. So I had 2 full seasons to start, and it was, like I said, it was frustrating at times, but I learned so much during that, and I was able to carry that into the NFL. Really, being a rookie, it's tough to go in as a rookie, especially at the quarterback position, and go in. That's why I know a lot of teams like to have their rookies sit behind a vet and learn as much as they can before they throw them in there, because I mean it's the NFL. It's the best of the best, the top talent in the league, and but at the same time, I felt like it was a blessing that I was able to get in there at such an early in my rookie year. I learned a lot about the NFL, and about just me as a person through that rookie year. Didn't go as planned as I wanted it to. I mean, it was a tough situation for sure, but just being able to learn from all the time that I did have to play, because you look at a lot of quarterbacks in the league, they don't get to play. So a lot of them don't get to play at all in any games, and I've been able to play and start 10 games, and I'm blessed to have had that experience, and I've learned so much from it. And that's why, like I was saying earlier, it's literally 2 years have gone by since I last played in a game until the other night, and it just felt like night and day difference of when last time I was in there, just how much things have slowed down, how much easier it is being my 4th year in the offense. It's just a lot easier.
Would you say that your kind of experience from playing behind guys when you first got on campus your freshman year, you decided to redshirt and trying to gain more experience on your belt and just trying to get your feet wet? Would you say that kind of helped you prepare for, trying to stay ready for whatever moment might hit you, because you just never know?
Yeah, definitely, and that's the nature of the game, is you truly do, and you never know when you're going to be in there. If you're a backup, you're one play away. And I know it's like cliche to say, everyone says it, you're one play away, but I've experienced it too much in my career to take that with a grain of salt. Like, you really do have to prepare as if you are going to play that week. And sometimes you prepare every week for 2 years, and it doesn't happen until it happens. So it's one of those things that you never know when it's going to happen. You just got to be ready and prepared at all times.
I think it's funny that you mentioned that, because last week we were talking to Spencer Petras about this too. But for basketball, I know Jordan said that people get on campus, they want to start, they want to go to the NBA. It's kind of a different mindset of, trying to get out there and perform. But, you had the tough road of, learning and taking the redshirt year and really getting a lot of that experience under your belt. Would you say that, there's been times where, like, how do you get through those tough times? Because like you said, 1 week you could be the starter and then you go 2 years and then, you come in the middle of the game. So how do you keep yourself like mentally ready for that? And what gives you that motivation, to keep going?
For me, it's my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I mean, I don't know where I would be without Him and without my faith, because especially over the last year or so, I've been through a lot of stuff with my brother, and then the last 2 years of the football season. How frustrating it's been, and I honestly don't know where I'd be without my faith, and that's what carries me through. And if you have a good relationship with Jesus Christ, it kind of, as tough as things are going in your life, it gives you some sort of peace, and you can find that underlying peace in really anything. In the toughest of situations, you can find that peace. And over the last year especially, I've really dove into the Bible, and really strengthening my relationship with Him. And that's really what's the only thing that I can really credit to getting through what I've gone through. And I don't know how anyone could do it any other way, honestly.
That's a lot with me as well. Just just coming off from two hip surgeries and just understanding why I play the game of basketball. And I'm sure that's kind of the same mindset that you're kind of getting at, is just understanding why you're here and what got
Yeah.
you here, and the whole reason why that you're really in the position that are in today. Really.
Mhm. Definitely. I mean, I think that definitely the struggles and the tough times make you stronger and give you a stronger testimony for other people to see. And not only that, just living with that like eternal mindset. That's what I've realized more than anything over the last year, is trying to live life with a heavenly perspective, and not be so mad and angry and frustrated at things going on, because we are only here for a short period of time. And as Christians, our goal um, is to spread the word and lead people to Christ. So that's really what I got to remind myself and try to do every day.
Yeah, it's important for everyone out there to listening too, because I think today's mindset with today's kids, and even I feel like the generation, after us, it's kind of, I deserve this, I deserve to play this, I deserve this time, I deserve to be the starter. And I
Mhm.
think that they've kind of lost that mentality of, putting in that hard work, like like staying with the ship and stuff like that, and being prepared, when the opportunities happen. So for Sunday night, late in the game, I think there's about like 5 minutes left or something like that.
Mhm.
They give you the call to put you in the game. What were you thinking? I mean, were you just chilling, like kind of space out, or how was that for you on the side? I mean, not space now because you obviously have to, give the feedback and stuff. But how did that like hit you? Like, what were you thinking when he's like, "Hey, CJ, you're going in"?
I mean, honestly, I wasn't really expecting it. I didn't think it was going to happen late in the game like that. But um, our quarterback coach came up and said, "Hey, are you warm?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." I mean, during TV timeouts and stuff, I try and stay loose and toss some balls around a little bit. And he said, "Because you're going in." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And in the back of my head, it's one of those things, just like, man, I got nothing to lose. Like, I'm just gonna go out and let it rip. And at that point, it was almost, it was a tough situation to even get back in that game. So I was like, all right, we literally have nothing to lose. I'm just going to go out and let it rip. And that's really what my mindset was.
So talk about linemen for a second. I know there's many stories of my dad when he played, and he talks about all the time, like, oh, he would go out and buy them all breakfast because he realizes like they're those guys that protect his life no matter what. Is
Mm-hmm.
how much have the people that you've played with that been on the line have kind of shaped your relationship with them through football, and like how well of friends you have gotten with all your linemen like, on these past couple teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think the O line position is one of the toughest positions, not only for what they do on the field, um, but even off the field. They get no credit for anything. no one's buying offensive lineman jerseys and wearing them in the stands. It's always the quarterback, the skill position guys. So it's like the definition of like a team player, a football player is an offensive lineman. They want no credit for anything. They're out there literally blocking and protecting for the running backs, quarterbacks, so that we can, have good plays. All you see on a deep pass or a good run, you see the run, you see the pass and the catch. You don't see the great block that made it happen. And that's the cool thing about O-linemen. They never want that credit either. They're a selfless group, and really everyone that I've been around, whether going back to college and then now to the NFL, they're just real likable guys. And you definitely, as a quarterback, they're your best friends. You gotta take care of them. You definitely want them to like you. That's for sure.
I was thinking, CJ had the luxury of, being in Iowa, who has probably some of the top linemen in the country. So I'm sure that you and those boys got, real close back at school, and, they're the ones like saving you from taking those big hits. So, even other schools out there, they don't have the luxury of having those big boys up on the offensive line. So I think that was, one advantage that you saw, and you appreciated them a lot more for that.
Yeah. I mean, Iowa pumps out offensive linemen each and every year. I feel like we got a top 10 draft pick in the O-line every year. And there, there's a reason for it, and the hard work they put in there. But yeah, definitely had my share of being around some real talented guys at Iowa, going back to, Sheriff and Ike and Tristan. I played with Tristan for a year. He redshirted, but yeah.
You mentioned that you went on the field and you said you had nothing to lose. That game was so out of hand, and the fact that you even came close in the end was absurd. So, I mean, that was an accomplishment in itself, because you guys had no right to be that close, and it was amazing that it was even, that close of a game. So you said you went out there and you had, not too much weight on your shoulders, and you were winging it and just, letting the natural instincts take place and just trusting in your ability. How is that changed, like you said, since your first year? So go back to your first start when you got in there and last Sunday, what's changed in that aspect? And, how has it changed, like, from your perspective with the game?
I mean, it's changed. I mean, like night and day. I look back on my rookie year and just thinking back to it, it's like, man, I really had no clue what I was doing my rookie year, just with the offense. Didn't know when a play call was called, like what we were trying to get across, let alone half the time, like our offense is one of the toughest offenses. Word wise, it's real wordy, and then like schematically, it's tough. And I remember I get a play call. This before we weren't allowed to have wristbands, or my first 2 years there, till Jimmy got there. Then we got some wristbands, but the first 2 years we didn't have wristbands. So I get a play call in my headset from Kyle, and it cuts off at 15 seconds. I remember I'd be like, just like 17 word play calls, just trying to remember, and then literally just trying to repeat whatever he said. And you walk up to the line of scrimmage, and I'm like, what the heck did I just say? I have no idea what I just said. And meanwhile, you got, like, my rookie year, there was a lot of other rookies in there starting. It was like me, George, Trent Taylor, Matt Breida was in there, Kendrick Bourne was in there. We had a lot of rookies playing on the offensive side and the defensive side. But so we'd break the huddle, and guys coming through, hey, wait, what'd you say? I'm like, dude, what do I have? I'm like, just line up. I don't know what you know. Line up. I got to think about it. And then, the play clocks were ticking down 5, 4. Then you finally, like, it hits you like last second. Okay, yeah, I got a slant over here and this over here. And then you're like, oh, shoot, God forbid they blitz, because I don't even know what the protection is. So it's like, yeah, my mind was going 1,000 miles an hour. And I think with each year it's slowed down a lot. And that's another thing, going out there the other night. It's just, I don't know, I just felt more comfortable with it. And, I hear the play calls, I visualize them, see it, and it just happens a lot quicker. I feel like I'm able to play. I mean, I know I'm able to play a lot faster than even last year. But yeah, it just felt good.
Talk about that kind of mindset of once you get experience on your belt and realizing the game really isn't that fast. You're kind of just in the moment and knowing, just letting your work and training take over, and just understanding that aspect of the game outside.
Yeah, I mean, as a athlete, basketball player, the more you do stuff, the more. I mean, you've been at Iowa for what? Is this your 5th year
Yeah,
there?
Just 10.
Yeah, 5th year. So yeah, I mean, I was at Iowa for 5 years too, and just this the easiness of the game. It's a lot easier, and it slows down a lot more, and it just becomes a lot more natural. You can really go back to what you did as a kid in the backyard. You can go out there and just let your talent take over, because the mental side of it just kind of happens, second nature when you know what you're doing. You've done it a million times, whether it be in practice or in your head, watching tape, like that type of stuff. It happens so naturally, and I think anytime you're in a system for 4 years for me, 5 years for you, it just becomes a lot easier.
You guys last year obviously made it to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Can you talk about that whole experience and like the aura of just being in Miami that whole week? And because it's a spectacle on its own, even the week before leading up to it. And, a lot of people don't get to experience it. So how was that for you?
It was really cool. I mean, it was a real special week. Just, I mean, there's stuff going on like every night. We had practice in the mornings and the meetings. And they have you doing like media stuff here one night, and then you have like these events, all this stuff. It's kind of like a circus, but if our Coach Shanahan always talk about locking in and focus on what we're here for, because I can definitely see how it's real easy to lose track of, get caught up in what's going on. In Miami, I feel like everyone's there. There's concerts every night. It's just like a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, I mean, it was an awesome experience. We stayed in a real nice hotel. Practice was awesome. Just the stuff, you get a lot of free stuff, a lot of cool stuff with the Super Bowl logo on it. Stuff that I'll give to my kids someday, and just then the game in and of itself was real surreal. Just everything about it, the pregame, just it's kind of hard. It's so weird because your whole life you watch the Super Bowl on TV, and you feel like it's this big, huge deal. But when you're like out there, I mean, obviously I didn't play, but you still just look at it as like, all right, this is just another game. You don't realize like this is a Super Bowl until after the fact that you're like, man, that was a Super Bowl. But it just feels like another game. It's kind of wild.
Well, touching on how games different feel. I mean, we talked about the Iowa State game back in when you were playing, and just my experience with that kind of having a different level to it. For some odd reason, it just has a different feel when you're playing Iowa State. How much when you grew up as going on as an athlete at Iowa, how are your Iowa homegrown kids that went to Iowa? How did they bring you into that rivalry? And when did that kind of set in stone? Like realize like, damn, this game is actually one that has different meaning towards other games on the schedule.
I mean, it was real quick, honestly. Just being around guys, they welcomed me. I mean, Iowa people are some of the nicest people in the country, and a lot of my teammates would kind of share with me about the history, and Coach Ferentz does a really good job at making sure we know the history behind that game and what it means. And all week there'll be highlight videos on the TVs about the games in previous past years, and Coach Ferentz does a great job at really making it the rivalry that it is. And obviously everyone else on campus, you see it everywhere, just whether it be in classes, like it's just everywhere, and it's hard to not see it that way. And then come a year or two, you really start to hate Iowa State. It's kind of weird how that works.
You touched on big games and being in the moment, and when you're on the field it kind of slows down and doesn't feel as big as when you're watching it. Can you take me back to the Big Ten championship against Michigan State? So I actually was there. I went to that game. It was amazing from my perspective, and even from your perspective, it was an awesome, surreal experience. How was that game for you, and just even the environment, and what did that mean to you?
I mean, that game was probably that might have been the best game I've ever played in. Just the most fun, and most electric atmosphere that I've been a part of. It was just a back and forth game. The defense played great. I mean, it makes me sick to this day thinking about that game. Honestly, I follow the Big Ten on Instagram, and they post, Big Ten football has been playing by that. I saw a highlight of that when the LJ Scott reached it over at the end. That guy made me sick. I was like, golly, man, that sucked. Because I mean, we had them stopped, and honestly, we should have got knocked the ball out too. Like that was just a crazy game, fun game, awesome atmosphere. But that was one of the most fun experiences that I've had playing football was that game, and just that whole season kind of epitomized that season. We played in so many close games that year, but we always ended up figuring out a way to win. And that game was the first loss, so it was like weird coming to the locker room that year. I mean, after that game, just be like, man, I didn't know we hadn't been in the locker room after a game without winning, and all season. So it was just kind of weird feel, but it was a fun game.
So the whole game in general, obviously it didn't end the way you wanted to, but can you explain that experience? Because even to me, it's like one of the most like highlights of like Iowa football when I was there. And that pass to Tavon, that deep touchdown pass, can you explain, like, were you like just like ascending into the air? Did you have like how did you feel after that pass? Because like the stadium went nuts. I mean, Gus Johnson, even on the call, I'm sure you've heard is the CJB. It still rings in my ears. It's amazing. So how did you feel during that?
I mean, in the moment, I mean, I know looking back on that clip now, like the highlight gives me chills every time I watch it because it was just so exciting and just hearing the crowd and stuff. But I remember right after I threw it, it was a touchdown. I was like running down to the end zone, and I was actually mad because Drake Kulick like ran out on the field. He was like with his helmet off, was like trying to give me a big hug. And I was like cussing him out, like, you get back on the sideline. What are you doing? I was like, you idiot. What are you doing? You're about to get a flag. So I didn't even make it down to the end zone. Tavon was already done. Everyone was done celebrating. But, I mean, that was awesome. Honestly, I thought the game was over at that point because our defense was playing so good. Like they're not gonna score again until they go on an 8-minute drive, which is just unheard of to finish the game. I mean, that was just crazy. But, yeah, that play was awesome.
What's it like being kind of that leader of the team and trying to get a group of guys on the same page and on the same course of action? You've had that experience going undefeated and playing in those big games and just making sure everyone's locked in for a full course, for a full Big Ten grind conference. It's really tough. I mean, I don't think a lot of people from the outside realize to trying to stay locked in from all the outside noise. So
Yeah.
how did you kind of learn going through college and trying to keep guys motivated and locked in throughout the season?
I think that not only Coach Ferentz does a great job at talking to us as players early on about not listening to the outside noise, and I feel like a lot of guys kind of take it with a grain of salt. It's like, yeah, okay, don't listen to the outside noise. It's easier said than done because whether you like it or not, you hear stuff, and when it's good stuff, it feels good to be praised. But then that's where you get yourself into some trouble when you start listening to the good stuff. The same people that are saying that stuff are the same people that are going to be bashing you and telling how much you suck when things aren't going good. I mean, I remember at my first year starting from game one, we went 12-0. I mean, we were rolling, and I mean, we were top 4 team in the country. Looking at the college football playoff, we were a yard away from being in that talk. And then the year after that, we had all these expectations, and we ended up 8-4, and it was definitely a letdown of a season. But I remember that whole year was tough, just hearing all the crap from the same people that were praising you the year before, the same stuff. And it really taught me a lot then, just especially now, like my career in the NFL has been the same way, just a lot of ups and downs, just to totally tune it out. I mean, and then just not even all the people talking, saying this stuff, they're sitting behind a computer, sitting behind a desk. You look, even ESPN, all this stuff, it's like they don't know what they're talking about. 80% of the time they say stuff and it's wrong. So they just say stuff to say stuff, and you really got to take it with a grain of salt and just not listen to it, even when it's good, because I think that's the biggest trap people fall into. When things are going good, it's easy to fly high on that and listen to that and flatter yourself. You don't want to do that. You just want to stay even keel and never get too high, never get too low.
After that 2015 season, like you said, the expectations were high. You guys, came in the AP top 25 preseason and started the year there. And I think that it's really similar to what Jordan's experiencing this year because Iowa, for the first time in basketball, is ranked top 5 preseason, which is unheard of. We have the, preseason player of the year and Luka and stuff like that. So what advice do you have for Jordan to, manage those expectations? How do you, because obviously you're going to hear the good things, like you said, but how do you keep yourself even keeled and, drive through all those things?
I think for sure I think it's a lot easier at basketball because it's a lot smaller group of guys. Football, you got 70 guys on a team. But when it's a smaller group, you got to get everyone in together on the same page as a fifth-year senior, as a leader of the team. Know that things aren't going to go perfectly smooth all season. Know that, shoot, I hope y'all go undefeated, but I'm sure y'all are going to lose a game at some point. And just to know when that happens, when things go bad, when you don't have a good game, you go 0 for 10 shooting or whatever, it's like, dude, don't the only people that matter are the people in that locker room. Whether you start out, 20-0 or 10-10, all that matters is the guys in that locker room and making sure y'all are all on board. I know it's hard because everyone's, once off the court, they go home and they got their own lives, they got their own social media that they deal with. But if you can lock that in early on with the guys on the team and just know that, hey, this guy that these same people that picked this top 5 right now, the second we lose our first game, they're gonna be saying we suck and we're overrated and this and that, and none of that matters. Doesn't matter that you're our top 5 right now. I wouldn't even look at that. Don't even look at, man, we're pretty good. Man, we're top 5. That's pretty cool. Dude, don't even think of it like that. Just think of it like, man, y'all are at the bottom of the Big Ten and y'all got a chip on your shoulder. I feel like last year y'all got screwed because I feel like y'all are getting hot and y'all are gonna make a run in the tournament for sure, and just kind of use that as motivation. Dude, knowing that y'all are a better team now, it's man, the only people that y'all are trying to prove are proving yourselves right. You're not trying to prove other people wrong, just proving yourselves right and proving the people that your families that believe in you right. It's not so much about proving other people wrong, I guess.
Funny you say that because how only the people that talk stuff about how you're good, they're the same people that will trash talk you when you lose your first game or have a bad game. And that's something I definitely learned when I got to Iowa at first, because there's definitely fair weather fans all over across the country. But
Yeah.
I'm probably getting in trouble for saying this, but this is probably one of my greatest Coach McCaffrey quote, and CJ, you'll love this because it goes along with what you're saying. We were talking about expectations and stuff and whatnot. I think this was about last year, coming in the beginning of the season, and he said it simple like this. He's like, no one gives a fuck about you. No one gives a fuck about you. Other than your family and the people in here, no one cares. And I thought that was the greatest quote ever because that's so true and exactly what you're talking about, because they really don't care about you or you as a person. It's just that needs to be about the tight circle that you have and willing to accomplish something with the guys that you know best, and that's in the locker room.
And not only that, people on the outside don't know the hard work y'all put in to get to where you are anyways. You think that when you do lose a game, you think that the guy on Instagram is more mad than you guys are, the guys that actually put in the work. No, the people that are most pissed off about it are y'all, the ones that actually playing the game. And so don't ever listen to that stuff.
Yeah, that's part of the big reason why we wanted to start this podcast. As we mentioned before, I got to know Jordan and asked away all these questions, a lot of these things, the ins and outs, the hard work that goes in. I've started to see that, it's not just when you're on the football field, it doesn't just magically happen, right? When he's on the basketball court, it doesn't magically happen. It's all preparation and the hard work and hours and blood and sweat that goes into it. So I think that, that part is really important to get fans and people outside to know that, like you said, the same people who are going to talk the praises to you are the ones that are going to tear you down, right? And you have to keep that mindset that their opinion doesn't matter. So even going through Iowa for you, obviously you're a younger guy when you get to school. How did you work through the people, saying the praises about Iowa? And then, when you do lose that Michigan State game, right? How did you combat that and keep your head on straight?
So, luckily for me, social media was just kind of getting started, so I didn't have to deal with Instagram like it is now. I mean, golly, Instagram, I swear that's the devil right there. Just the distractions, the things said on Instagram about people that can hide behind a profile and say whatever they want without, whatever they want. And I mean, I've had, I'm sure you have too, but a lot of athletes have had some people say some messed up things on comments on your pictures and my pictures, and it's just kind of sad. And I'm lucky that it wasn't, Instagram wasn't, it didn't hit its peak when I was in college. It had just been getting started, but it was more so just like, it honestly was like Snapchat. Like I remember posting like, my first picture was like my roommate doing abs in the dorm. Like it was like, I don't even know what I was thinking. Like it was just weird. It was like Instagram. It was different. I mean, it was like Snapchat. It was just different times. But and we weren't allowed to have Twitter too, which I think was awesome because you don't see that stuff. I haven't had Twitter since I graduated high school. I got it my senior year of high school and then deleted it, and I haven't touched it since 2012. So you don't see stuff on there, and I'm so glad that I haven't, because I feel like if I did pick it back up, I'd be so tempted to look at it all the time and see, this, that. But just the fact that I don't have it, I don't see it, and don't see that stuff is nice.
I thought the coolest thing about you was when I was a freshman at Iowa, and Zach doesn't know this, probably a lot of people from the outside, but um, I obviously was huge. Like you're like one of my role models, like being a college athlete, because you're everything that was right about college football and college athletics as a whole, and being an Iowa athlete. And then I looked up to you so much, and I thought it was just so cool when I had a good game or something, and you replied to my Instagram or something. I thought it was like the sweetest thing ever, because you're this big time athlete at Iowa, and you're
Yeah, I
still
remember that game you balled out. It was Indiana.
yeah,
You were balling, dude. That
yeah,
was
yeah.
crazy.
But I thought that was so cool, just because you are the genuine guy that cares about Iowa sports and
No doubt.
about the younger generation, and you're able to reach out like that. I thought that was so cool and something I'll always share from future people that I always talk to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Once you graduate from Iowa, it's something that is in your blood. Like I watch all the basketball games. I can't wait for the football season to start. And it's like this is the first team. It's weird. I don't know how some of these. There's like a few guys on that team that I remember playing with. And I'm like, I don't know how they're still there. Like it's just crazy to me. But it's like this is the first team that I look out there. I don't really know any of the guys out there. It's like Alaric. I know Alaric. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like he's been there for 7 years, but yeah. So like you look out there and you don't know anybody, so it's weird. But it's like, dude, I still have that same feel when I cannot wait for week one of the season, and I'll be pulling for Iowa more than anybody. So it's exciting.
Well, CJ, we really appreciate you taking the time, man, to, take time from your busy day. Obviously, you have a hectic week coming up and stuff like that. And we wish you the best with your future and everything. But, we really appreciate you having on. A lot of great stuff that we, were able to hear from you and get your perspective on things. And definitely a side of CJ that a lot of people don't know, Iowa fans don't know. So we really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. Guys. Yeah, just for those who are listening, this video will be on YouTube and will be on the same places you find your podcast. Make sure to give us a good review, 5 stars, and subscribe. But thanks again for everyone listening, and have a good rest of your day.
Appreciate you guys.